Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather follows the aging Don Vito Corleone, head of the most powerful of the 5 New York mafia families, as he navigates betrayal, treachery and murder to lead his family in the 20th century, as well as groom his youngest son Michael as his successor. With its stunning cast, rich characterization, iconic soundtrack and incredible story, The Godfather has endured a legacy as one of the greatest films of all time, a true masterpiece of cinema. Interestingly though, as I discussed extensively in a previous video, Coppola didn't even want to make the film, only doing so mainly because his film production company was in debt and he needed to keep it afloat. And when Coppola was approached to direct the second film, again he didn't want the job, instead suggesting to the studio they hire a relatively unproven Martin Scorsese, who would go on to become perhaps the best mob movie director of all time. Eventually Coppola relented though, after making numerous demands of the studio since he had a torrid time with them on the first film, and he gave audiences yet again one of the greatest films of all time with The Godfather Part II, somehow managing to replicate and add to his previous success. Not to mention, I might add, squeezing in another great film in between the two Godfather movies, The Conversation. The inception of The Godfather 3 has a similar vibe to the first two films. There are stories about Coppola being approached by the studio and being told they would make the film with him or without him. Coppola himself was short of cash at the time, and he was not given the time he wanted to work on the movie script. There were other issues like Winona Ryder dropping out of the film at the last minute, the studio refusing to pay Robert Duvall's contract demands for him to return to the saga, and even minute details such as Al Pacino's hair in the film causing a rebellion on set, as I talked about in a previous video. But difficult productions are nothing new for Coppola. After all, this is the man who directed Apocalypse Now, and even his latest film, Megalopolis, was rampant with production issues. However, on this occasion, it seems the issues surrounding The Godfather Part III had a major impact on the movie, as it is considered one of the all-time great disappointments in film history. It is not a terrible film, it's just that when compared to the towering achievements that are the first two movies, it doesn't live up to the hype. A very different Michael Corleone, a poor performance from Sofia Coppola, shoddy editing, a lackluster script, uninteresting characters and the very obvious absence of Robert Duvall are just some of the reasons why the third film stumbles over the finish line, and many Godfather fans quietly ignore its existence. But I was thinking about the film the other day and it dawned on me that it did something that the first film does, but does it better. It's not a big scene, but there is a strange sequence of events in the first film which many people have criticised, and it's repeated in The Godfather Part III, only the third film does it better. In The Godfather, Don Vito Corleone is approached by the drug dealer Virgil Sollozzo with a business proposition, but Vito turns him down. He is worried about Sollozzo, given he is backed by the Corleone rivals, the Tattaglia family, so sends his bulldog Luca Brasi to investigate Sollozzo. In the words of Don Corleone, go to the Tattaglias and make them think you're not too happy with our family and find out what you can. And of course, when Luca Brasi does meet with the Tattaglia family and flirts with the idea of switching families, he is executed. What triggers Bruno Tattaglia and Virgil Sollozzo to kill Luca instead of court him, and whether that was always the plan or whether Luca did something and slipped up, is something we can discuss in another video. But the fact is that this decision to send Luca to the Tattaglias is often cited by fans as a balmy decision by Vito Corleone, perhaps the worst he ever makes in either of the first two Godfather movies. It has baffled fans, as Luca was known for his fierce, unwavering loyalty to Vito, so why on earth would any Corleone rival believe that Luca wanted out of the family? No doubt they'd know it was a trap. Vito could have sent Clemenza or Tessio, but he sent the one man who was famous for his loyalty. This has led some fans to even speculate that Vito wanted Luca dead. I have discussed Vito's controversial decision in a video called Why Did Vito Send Luca Brasi to His Death? Check it out, as there's actually quite a lot behind this part of the film, and in some ways it does actually make a lot of sense, especially when you factor in the book the film is based on. But at face value, it's one of the aspects of the first film that isn't that believable and doesn't make Vito come off as the mastermind we're told he is. He sends a guy to sniff out his enemies, the guy is immediately killed, and Vito himself is shot shortly after. Not a great day at the office. There is a scene from the third film that is almost a carbon copy of this sequence, where Vito sends his man undercover. The aging Michael Corleone is surrounded by enemies, unsure of who to trust and in need of eyes and ears to spy for him. Like how he summoned Luca, Michael calls his nephew Vincent to him while he is shaving. He tells Vincent that he wants him to make out that he has betrayed him, to go over to Don Altobello's side to see how connected Altobello actually is, which Vincent ends up doing successfully, unlike Luca Brasi. Now you might say this is a showcase of how simpler and basic the script to The Godfather Part III is, but this is actually a great scene, full of nuance and subtext. Vincent is clever enough to question Michael's decision, telling Michael that Altobello would never believe him, unlike Luca, who blindly followed Vito's orders, which led him to his death. Michael makes it absolutely clear that the job is dangerous, and then does something interesting. While explaining the finer details of the plan, he allows Vincent to shave him, trusting him to be with a blade at his throat. It highlights his trust in his nephew, as well as it being a power move. Michael runs Vincent through the plan, telling him to start off his meeting with Altobello by reiterating his loyalty to Michael, and then telling him his problems and asking for his help, that he, Vincent, wants to run away with Michael's daughter. And Michael says, "Only you know that if you do, I would become your enemy." Vincent tells his uncle that he would never do that, but we know that an underlying threat has been made here by Michael, as Vincent does want to be with Michael's daughter, but Michael reminds him here to stay away. The fact that Michael can say these things, have Vincent hold a razor to his neck, plan to manipulate Altobello, and use legitimate grievances that Vincent has to his advantage, is a homage of sorts to the old, calculating Michael Corleone. And these are genuine grievances Vincent had. He wants Mary. He didn't want to become a lawyer as part of Michael's legitimate empire, and Michael is using these elements to give Vincent's supposed double agent move legitimacy and firepower. These could be genuine reasons for Vincent wanting to betray Michael, to become frustrated with him, unlike when Vito told Luca to make that he was unhappy with no real reason given. And these are not business grievances. Vincent coming to Altobello to get Michael to accept his daughter's hand is like a young man coming to any uncle to get a strict, stringent father to let his daughter marry him. It's a family thing, a culture thing, and it allows Vincent a supposed bond with Altobello. Crucially, Michael says, if he hints he wants you to betray me, get insulted, because that's his trap. And this is a mistake Luca Brasi made because he didn't seem to get offended. And interestingly, this is actually something from the book. In one of the many differences between the film and novel, in the book, Luca Brasi actually spends weeks hanging around the bars that have Tattaglia affiliation, and when he is approached by Sollozzo, he makes it clear he will never betray Don Corleone. Who knows, maybe in one of their meetings together while Vito coached Michael, perhaps Vito mentioned this error he had made years ago, and Michael remembered it decades later, showing that the shadow of Don Vito Corleone lingers over the Corleone Empire even into the late 70s, years after his death. It was a great plan by Michael. He played this one beautifully, because the scheming Altobello jumped to the idea that if Michael was out of the way, Mary gets control of the empire, and therefore, if Vincent marries her, he controls the Corleone family. Vincent acts upset as he was instructed to do so. In fact, he may actually be upset because he doesn't want Mary involved in any of this. But Altobello thinks the young man wants power, and with Vincent praising his shrewdness, Altobello immediately introduces him to Don Lucchese. A win for Michael Corleone here, achieving something and gaining a spy in the enemy camp, where his father failed in a similar situation. And to top this great scene off, it's intercut with shots of Mary looking at photos of Michael's first wife who died as a result of mob violence, a fate that lies in wait for her. So I thought you might find this interesting. Just a little discussion about two similar scenes from two Godfather films where surprisingly the third film does it better. What do you make of these scenes? Let me know in the comments below, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.